you mentioned there the crowd fundraiser you're doing at the moment. So you guys are via CrowdCube instead, and I thought this was really interesting. Your company is doing 60% gross margin at the moment. You're trying to solve the problem of 92 million tons worth of sports clothing waste every year, which is the equivalent of 7 million London buses in terms of the weight equivalent. And instead of going after VC money or family office money or institutional money, which I'm sure has come knocking going, hello, this is interesting. You want to let your stakeholders become your clients and customers and punters who are using this while they're playing paddle on the golf course. Why have you gone crowdfund rather than VC?
Yeah, it's so you're right. We've been approached and had lots of conversations with institutional money and like, is this an interesting route for us or is this too early for us? We definitely want to scale and grow the business, and naturally in this it's a business which requires capital to do that. So we were looking at ways we were working, and really interesting when we first launched Reflo. Or first we're thinking of Reflo, sorry. We kind of said to our friends and family and kind of network of people around us, like, would you be interested in like a friends and family, angel round type thing? And people said yes. And it was mad how many people said yes. And we ended up with like near on 100 people around us, anyone putting from £500 in to 50 grand in.
Oh, wow.
But we had these like 100 people who were like brand ambassadors from the start, and advocates and talking about us in the right places and buying the product and testing product and super keen on see what we're doing. And that was almost like we didn't really realize that was all a bit of a crowdfund at the time. So it was actually one of our leadership team had done a crowdfund with another brand previously, and they were like, well, we're kind of perfectly aligned for it. We've got such a community of people who wear our product, talk about the product, a growing direct consumer business, but lots of people buying the product, and a really interesting story to tell that's trying to change things. And as we continue to grow, it's also a great tool for introducing new people to the brand. CrowdCube has got hundreds of thousands of investors on the platform, and you're able to get the brand in front of those guys and create a kind of convert our existing kind of loyal. I kind of went, as I said, looking through our data and I wonder what our top 5 customers, how many times they've bought on the website. And the top customer on the website has bought nearly 70 times on the website.
Wow.
And so we have there is a real loyal group of people who love Reflo. And it's like, well, let's give them the option to come in and invest as well. Turn kind of existing loyal customers and our community into shareholders and advocates, and that doubles down on that, but then also acquire new customers through the opportunity to invest in something that's growing quite quickly. So it was a really interesting route that we hadn't really thought about before. And we had talked to a lot of VCs and we're like, is this the right thing for us? And this just felt instantly right, and that sometimes you've got to trust your gut feel on that a little bit.
What was the sort of the thing that didn't quite feel right with the VC family office institutional money thing? Is it the fact that it sounds like you guys are very much in control? There's a great vibe around this brand. People, it's not a brand that people like, they love. Like, people love this brand. Harry Kane approaches you after wearing the stuff and liked it so much. Is it sort of not a fear is the wrong word, but is it a sort of a resistance to having, the grey suits looking over your shoulder going, well, this quarter, that skew didn't do very well, we need to chop it?
There's an element of that. And to be honest, it was more of a gut feel thing than, when we're looking at sort of, as far as term sheets and stuff like that. And it just didn't feel the right timing. And sometimes you just got to go with your gut. And I don't think it was a negativity thing. I don't think actually it was actually one of the members of our senior leadership team, it just felt right to crowdfund because it felt the right, rather than that felt massively wrong. And I think there will always be, and I know people who work in that space, and I had met up with a great guy called Charlie Stebbings last night, who runs 20VC and has a great sports podcast and stuff like that, just to catch up with him. I think there are some brilliant funds around who can help drive growth and X, Y, and Z. But for us, it just didn't, it felt like the crowdfund was the better route for us. And as soon as we started talking about it and looking at the fundamentals, looking at some incredible success stories of crowdfunding in the past, brands like Mouse Backpacks, who started off as phone cases, and then they've used crowdfunds to build their community, and they're in a similar position to us. It's expensive to develop product and grow, and they want to do that. They're an incredibly successful business, but I think they're on their 6th crowdfund in less than 4 years,
right?
And they're a bit more mature in terms of how long they've been around than we are. But yeah, we looked at, Finisterre had done the same, who are a super cool brand I admire, and went, okay, this feels logical, rather than anything being fundamentally wrong with the VC space. And you do hear horror stories, but we never got into that space where we're like, oh God, I dread, anyone we spoke to, I think we would have,
had a good relationship with.
And we're relationship people. Like we're relationship people. We were speaking to some really, people with great proven track history in consumer brands and things like that. But for us, the crowdfund just felt more logical.